Bienvenidos a esta emisión especial de Una Posibilidad. Hoy les presentaremos una reciente entrevista a Maharaji, título honorífico por el que se conoce a Prem Rawat, realizada por el periodista independiente Bert Wolf.
During the last 40 years, I've been traveling around the world, reporting on the customs and traditions that give meaning to our lives. During those years, I discovered that the ones that were most valuable to me were the ones that gave me a sense of inner peace and self-knowledge. A couple of years ago, I told a friend of mine that I was interested in taking a break from traveling around the outside world and wanted to make a trip to the inside, to find out more about my own feelings and how they might relate to the universal themes of life. He suggested that I take a look at the teachings of a man named Prem Rawat. Prem, who is also known as Maharaji, is originally from India and has been speaking to people around the world for about 30 years. He talks about the possibility of knowing contentment in our lifetime. He points out that the forces of modern society may stimulate our desires and drive us outward in a search for happiness, but lasting happiness can only be found within you. Like most people, I am interested in inner peace and self-knowledge. But as a journalist, I am particularly skeptical of anybody who tries to show me how to find it. In spite of that cynicism, I attended 2 lectures by Prem, and I found his message to be timely and quite significant and quite entertaining. And most surprisingly, some of the things he said actually helped me solve some problems that I was having with my family. I want to point out that I am not a student of Prem Rawat. I am a journalist interested in his story and his message. And he's very open about that. He says that the things that he teaches are significant to some people, but not to others.
This is a reality. This is a possibility. It is simple, it is beautiful, it is profound. And my words don't mean anything till you have felt it yourself.
My conversations with Prem were taped over the course of several months in Malibu, California. We talked about his life, my life, what is going on in the world today, what makes people happy, what makes us sad, and how one can choose to live. When people come to hear you speak, what do they expect?
I don't really know what they expect. I guess some people come and it's like, enlighten me away. I can't do that. What I expect to do is to come and speak from my heart. That's all I expect of myself. To be real, to be genuine.
Is there a central message or a series of messages that you tend to give during each of these?
My central message is, you are alive. Congratulations, you are alive. Now let's begin with that. We don't have to create a curriculum. That's not necessary. Let's just begin with, congratulations, you are alive. What more needs to be said? Do you know what that means?
Probably not. What does it mean?
I'm very fortunate to be alive. Where's my gratitude that I exist? I'm unique. Do I really see myself as this unique being, this new unique individual? Or am I so busy trying to be like everyone else?
What else do you teach?
What else is there? Is there more?
This is a short but intense discussion.
It should be. That start of accepting this moment, this life, that's the doorway to everything. Everything.
Why do you think we don't do that?
It's a lot easier to sit there and wonder what's going to happen tomorrow. Want to know the future? Wait. It'll come to you. It's headed your way. Have patience. We don't have patience. We want to know what's going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow is never going to come. Because every time tomorrow starts to come, it becomes today. Today, we're not interested in. Because today is dedicated to tomorrow.
Pay attention to today is what you're saying to me now.
Even more than that. Because today comes in this moment called now. Pay attention to this moment called now, and you will understand what you are all about. You look at a river, and if you were to journey up that river and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going, you'll get to a point where you will see not a river, but a drop. Very gently, very slowly, filtering through all the soil, all the rock, or melting of a snow, coming to a pinnacle, waiting till it builds, and then dropping. Drop. Drop. And drop. Never any faster, never any slower. Drop. And all those drops come together and form this mighty, mighty river. Looking at the river, you can't imagine its gentleness of a drop, just like the gentleness of the moment called now. That's your drop. That's how this life begins. That's how this dance begins. Mighty power in this world, and a humble drop called now.
How do you begin to learn about yourself?
You know, all our lives we try to reason, logic. So many people are living in that reason. So many people are completely indulging themselves every day. Well, now I have done this, so I must be okay. Now I can do this, so I must be okay. But you know, there's something more than reason, and that is feeling. Feeling is far, far more important than reason. Let me give you an analogy. The other day I was watching this cook show on TV, and he's telling us, you know, here's the salt, here's the cream, here's the mushrooms. And I can sit there and I'm mentally taking notes, right? Then all of a sudden, he does something. He takes his finger, dips it in the sauce, and tastes it. And I'm sitting there going, huh? What does it taste like? Because you just put this thing together. And it's incredible. I can see that. I can reason that much. But what does it really taste like? I don't know that. So if, in a way, we start to look at the reason in the same fashion, that we reason so many things, but what is it really like? What is it really like to experience? What is it really like to feel that? There is all my logic, and then there is a feeling. And when I start to acknowledge in my life this one valuable tool that I have been given, which is I can feel. I don't have to reason everything. I can feel too. Then you start to enter in the realm of self-knowledge. Because that's what self-knowledge is going to be. It's going to be a feeling. Peace is a feeling. Happiness is a feeling.
Do you think our world has gotten so noisy that we can't hear what's inside?
I think it's always been noisy. But now we're letting that noise come in. And we are listening to it. And not only listening to it, but we're sometimes passionate about it. And it's like, oh yeah, I just love the sound of the freeway running by my window. You know, God forbid something happens and all the traffic stops and it's just dead quiet. And that sometimes to people is very scary.
She said in a sweet voice.
I look at a child. There is something that that child is getting,
For our party tonight.
feeling.
Vodka stop? No.
That is incredible.
okay, just say.
And I can only relate to it because I have felt that when I was young myself. It's like, it's fun.
Do you think that when we're young, we are in better touch with ourselves?
Things aren't that complicated. Things are a little simpler. The volume hasn't been turned up on all the noise outside. It's a little easier to go with the flow, so to say. To say to oneself, I like this. I want to feel this. I want to enjoy this. And that feeling and that enjoyment is enough. The world can wait.
I feel it's very easy for people to get lost in the noise of the world, just the way you were describing it. How do you find your way back?
Stop reasoning. Start feeling. It's not like disasters and the noise doesn't once in a while get turned up even for that child. But they have a way of feeling. This feels good right now. I'll go with this. This is good enough. This is right.
Boy, I've said that to my children so many times when they were trying to pick a school to go to or get into university. I said, well, I don't know that we can reason through this. What feels good to you? That's going to be your best sign. Interesting.
Certain things definitely need explanation, and certain things don't. Science can never explain to you why a sunrise looks so beautiful. There's no scientific explanation. The fact that you have a lot of hydrogen out there, the fact that you have the Earth's reflection makes all the colors and all this, yes. But why does it look beautiful?
Why? Now that you've raised that issue, I've seen hundreds of sunsets. I've enjoyed them. I've never understood why will I walk to the end of a pier to see a sunset? Why do I do that?
Because the beauty is within you, calling out to you to appreciate, to enjoy what is enjoyable. It's a gift to appreciate, to be able to enjoy, to be able to enjoy that one thing that you are alive. That, what the heart yearns for, that is what I am all about, what you are all about.
It seems that there's so little in the world that reminds us to do that. Pick up the newspaper. Issues like this are never discussed. They seem to push you away from yourself. Huh?
Because reasoning comes into it. I'm going to think logically out of this. Well, I'm not putting down logic. We all need that. But then you have to know where you get off. It's like going to your friend's house for dinner. You're not going to take the car to the dining room. The car is going to go maybe to the driveway, to the front porch. It's going to stop, and you're going to get out and go in the house. We got to know the difference. How far is reasoning going to take me? And where I need to begin to feel. And for so many centuries, the voice has been calling out, what you are looking for is within you. What you are looking for is within you. What you're looking for is within you. Your truth is within you. Your peace is within you. Your joy is within you. And the desire to feel those things is what constitutes the thirst. To feel joy. You see, it's not that you have been given anger and thirst to feel anger. No, you have been given anger, but a thirst to feel tranquility. Yes, you have ignorance, but you have been given a thirst to feel clarity. And herein lies the biggest confusion for people. Don't be confused. Change that what you have placed in front of you. Trade the doubt for clarity, and you will feel clarity. Because feeling is what you must do.
Is there any way I can tell when my feelings are accurate as opposed to false?
You will know if you know how to trust in yourself. If you're going to sit there and get caught between reasoning and feeling, there you are touching this object that maybe what's written on this object is caution, red hot, do not touch. You bring your hand closer and closer and you feel no heat and you're going, but it says do not touch. There's something wrong here. It's saying it's hot and I know it's not. What do I believe? Well, I know it is not hot because I have felt it.
It's interesting. That's almost an innate response that you're talking about of I want the experience and the feeling over the reasoning. I've told you not to touch the plate, it's hot. I've got to find out for myself.
Exactly. Don't you know what's important? Can't you feel what's important? Can't you feel your life? Why does somebody have to come along and drag a little label and say, ta-da, and you can look at it and go, oh yeah, this is very important because it says so.
How do we get into that mess? I mean, what you're describing is absolutely accurate. We look outside for all of our confirmations.
We become so comparative, It's like, let me compare my success, your success. Where do I stand in relationship to you? All of a sudden, it becomes like a big chess game where you're looking at it and you're going, what is the relationship of the knight to the pawn, to the bishop, to the queen, to the castle? And you're looking at all these. What is threatened? What is not threatened? Life is not a chess game. Life is this beautiful drum of breath that is beating. Life is a flower that needs to be admired. Life is this beautiful fresh water welling from this spring that needs to be drunk and the thirst quenched. Life is offering not a challenge, but a joy.
What are some of the thirsts that we have? You use that metaphor in a very nice way.
Thirst to be content. Thirst to be fulfilled. A thirst in itself just wants to be quenched. Enjoy the thirst. You see, we live in a world where it is, oh, you got a little pain in your finger? Let's fix it. Are you thirsty? No worries. Let's go get the water. But here, to discover, my goodness, I am thirsty. Because for so long, I didn't think I was thirsty. For so long, I just went around saying, I'm me. I've got this. I've got that. I've accomplished this. I don't get thirsty. And then to feel the thirst and be fascinated by it. Because what kind of salt did you eat to create that thirst? Then to turn within and drink from the fresh spring that wells from within and quench the thirst. Not just a little thirst, but quench the thirst like it has never been quenched before.
There's an outside world, and you and I are travelers in it. But there's an inside world that you know much better than I do.
For so many people, a home is a building, 4 walls, roof, and all of that. But there is another home. That is the true home. Where you exist to enjoy, where you exist to rest. To rest. Rest from all the crazy noise, rest from all the crazy things that happen during a span of a day. To come home and to rest. Here, sleep means something else. Sleep doesn't mean to close the eyes, but to open the eyes to the inner world. To throw open that back door and walk into this garden. A garden that is so meticulous. A garden that is so perfect, where every leaf dances in a cool breeze. One thing about the inner world, one thing about the inner journey that is incredibly fascinating is it's never the same. Never, ever the same.
Why is that?
This landscape inside is infinite, And a little bit of a turn and you see something else, completely different. The word boring does not apply to the world within. Never is it boring.
Prem's journey was never boring. His inner journey began in India. His guide was his father, a teacher who inspired many people to look within.
He had a passion, beautiful passion, to reach people and make them aware of this opportunity that exists in their lives. He was giving them the opportunity to have self-knowledge in their lives.
Did your father feel that he was in a Hindu or Sikh tradition when he taught?
No, he always made that distinction that follow any religion that you want to follow, but then when it comes to the self-knowledge, when it comes to that feeling inside, it's always within you, whether you follow a religion or you don't follow a religion, whether you're poor, whether you're old, whether you're young, whether you're rich, whether you're educated, whether you're uneducated, it didn't matter. None of those things matter. The only requirement for it was that you be alive.
Prem was a child prodigy, and at the age of 3 began to speak in front of crowds who had come to see his father.
So I'd get on the stage and I'd start speaking to them. And that, they would just go, fascinating, that's a little kid speaking. And then when everybody had kind of settled down, I'd just say, okay, tell my father they're all ready to listen to him.
You were the opening act for your father. That's amazing. Prem's life was turned upside down in 1966. At the age of 8, his mentor, his beloved father, passed away.
He was the rock. And the next thing you know, he's not there. And it was like, do I really understand this? Do I really understand the dynamics of this? And then I remember being in this hall where all these people had come to pay their respects to him, and they were waiting and crying. And I came on stage and I said, don't cry, don't weep. Because what you really loved is still here and will always be there with you. And it was a powerful moment.
It's amazing that you had the ability to grasp those ideas and express them at 9 years old.
It was very genuine. I saw these people weeping. And I felt this is something that I can do. I want to help.
What made you feel at that tender age that you had the ability to impart knowledge?
Not everybody can paint. That doesn't mean that they can't feel, but they can't express it, can't bring it to canvas. Peace is within you. I have that gift which can bring that feeling to the canvas. I can paint, and I paint with my words.
His words began to attract the attention of visiting Europeans and Americans who wanted Prem to teach outside of India. So in 1971, at the age of 13, he left for England.
It was my father's aspiration. He wanted me to go. He himself did not speak English, but he wanted me to go to school, learn English, and then take this message to as many places as possible.
Tell me about the message he wanted you to take.
It's about this incredible, beautiful potential of life. It's about how we really can be fulfilled. We can do something so that we can have a little hope in our lives, so that we can have a little peace in our lives.
Was that your first trip out of India?
Yes. I got in the airplane, and I didn't even know if I was going to be able to change clothes, because when I left India, I was wearing a suit. And you look at my pictures when I arrive in England, I'm wearing Indian clothes. So I didn't know if I could change, so I put on both pair of clothing.
One under the other?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And we arrive in England, and I remember walking through the airport, and there's all these people there to greet me. From there on, it was just soak it in, soak it in, soak it in. So much to learn, so much to learn.
After several weeks in England, Prem arrived in the United States, where he continues to live.
And what I learned over the period of years that I've traveled around again and again is that it doesn't matter where I go, which country, what culture, the thirst to be happy, to be content, is exactly the same. We are all so different and yet so alike.
How do you see that in people? Are there things that they say?
When they hear the message that within you is something very profound, very beautiful, it isn't like, huh? But it's like, I know that. I know that. Isn't that incredible? You're telling them something new and they're going, no, this isn't new. I have known that there is something so profound inside of me. And what's so important about the breath? Well, let me tell you that too. Because it is the courtesy of this breath that there is color red. This is the courtesy of this breath that there is New York. It is the courtesy of this breath that the sky is blue. It is the courtesy of this breath that you can taste food, that you can smell a flower, that you can appreciate sunshine, because when this breath is not there, none of those things are possible. And amazingly enough, in each breath comes this possibility to be fulfilled. Fulfilled, think of that. Fulfillment is not a trivial thing. Why isn't it a trivial thing? Because this is what you have always desired in your life.
I have seen people in other places searching for a kind of self-knowledge or a knowledge different from the immediate environment. And I thought, wow, what an interesting reality. That there are people searching for better ways to live and teaching them. That's the way I see you, as teaching a better way to live.
What I want to teach is not a bunch of ideas and not a bunch of concepts. I want to teach you to discover what you already have. It's a very different kind of teaching.
But you're teaching me. That's what I feel.
Or how about holding up a mirror? My job is to make sure the mirror is nice and clean. Nice and clean. And I hold the mirror up. And then I get to watch you smile when you see in the mirror, because you're always pleasantly surprised.
What you say about mirrors is now echoing in terms of my relationship with my children. They'd ask me questions, and then I'd let them talk.
People look at me and it's like, I didn't ask you to hold the mirror. I asked you a question. Why are you holding the mirror? And I'm saying, yeah, but keep looking, and you will learn to look within you. And when you do, you will find the answers. And I sit there and I clean the mirror, and clean the mirror, and clean the mirror, and clean the mirror. Look. I don't want to look. I haven't got the time to look. I'm too busy. This is not what I want right now in my life. Well, what do you want in your life? Did you look at the mirror again? No, I can't. I'm too busy. There's other things going on. This is interesting, but someday. Today's your day. Every day is your day, not someday. Every day is your day. That's the way it is.
When you speak about peace, what do you mean?
Peace, not the kind of peace that is tied to something, but a peace that is inherent in every human being. Every human being. And we're talking everyone. Peace that is there when we are asleep. peace that is there when we are awake, a peace that is there when we are in the middle of the greatest turmoil. Not a result of something, not a consequence of something. Just because you turned off your stereo and you closed your windows and you turned off the air conditioning, now it's quiet and peaceful. No, no, no. A peace that's always there. Even when that air conditioning was running, even when there is a war on the outside, something quiet and beautiful on the inside.
How do you explain to people what that feeling is like?
You have to feel it. And once you feel it, then you will have the common reference necessary. Peace within yourself, to be in that harmony, not the harmony outside. That's impossible, because so much is changing. But inside, you are very, very still. It's like a huge wheel, and the outermost part of that wheel is turning the fastest. And as you go in, slows down, slows down, slows down, slows down, till the very center is barely moving.
What a wonderful image. The outside of the wheel spinning around like mad, and the center quiet and still.
Exactly.
Well, there's a trip to look forward to.
Peace begins with every single human being. It is not an issue of institutions. It is something that has to be felt. It is something that has to be experienced in the heart of every person. We do so much in this world to try to make ourselves comfortable. We do so much in this world to make a better life. Everyone who can, in his or her own way, tries very hard to better themselves. And yet, we spend so little time understanding the dynamics of what causes this to happen. What is it inside you and me? What is it inside every person in this whole world that is pushing them, forcing them to evolve into a better situation, to be more content, to be more joyous, to be more in peace? One of the most fundamental things is, do I or do I not understand that within me there is something waiting to be discovered? There is more to me than I realize. There is more to you than you ever thought of. That within me there is a treasure worth more than all the money in this world. That there is a most beautiful scene, more beautiful than anything I can imagine. And if I can accept that, then I am on my way to understanding what that peace is.
I wonder, if I get to the center of the wheel, how do I deal with the people around me? What's going to happen to friends, acquaintances, business associates who aren't at the center of the wheel? Am I still going to have a life?
You will have just one difference. Only one. And that difference is, you will be at the center of the wheel. You are life peaceful. You have found your treasure. When you become rich, you become rich. When you quench your thirst, you no longer need that water. So much fear comes in. What will happen if I get inner peace? Well, will I become a vegetable? Well, this is what a lot of people think. Oh, I'll have to wear, clothes like a monk. Oh, I'll have to live on a mountain, and I won't be able to see my child, and I won't be able to do this, No. You see, it's like being in a very dark place. And it's really dark. And you're wondering, gee, I wish I had a flashlight. And then you remember, well, you know what? I thought I had a flashlight. I wonder where I put it. And it's in your pocket. And it's already on.
What about outer peace?
Outside peace is relative. Inside peace is always there. Always. Even when that hurricane is coming, that peace is there.
So the real answer to the craziness on the front page of the newspaper is enough people with inner peace.
Look within. Look within. Find it. Feel it. Enjoy it. Live it. Like it. Love it.
I get the feeling that these days that half the world is ready to go to war. They each have their own reasons that they have to do this. Aren't we really searching for the same thing? Isn't everybody looking for the same thing?
Today, the sad thing is that when somebody says peace, it doesn't mean the same thing. It should. It should be as common as saying, thirsty? One thing I always find very fascinating, it doesn't matter which part of the world you go to. You may not know the language, but if you're thirsty, you can communicate. You can go like this. You can go like this. If you're hungry, exactly, you can go like this. Because it's common. It's common. Peace should be a common expression, not different versions of it. Because it is real and it is within every single human being.
In view of the history of the world and its dependency on war, do you think there's a chance we can straighten this out?
We can have peace. That doesn't mean that there won't be a war.
Explain that to me.
The possibility for peace has always existed. With every war, with everything that has happened in this world, the possibility of peace has always existed. But when we cannot find peace within ourselves, what are we going to tell other people? How are we going to convince other people that there should be peace? Wars will rage on because somebody will always come up with the right label and justify it. But to turn within and feel peace, that is the only hope there is, in my opinion. To live every day not having wasted a moment, not having wasted a day, because that is irreplaceable. Truly.
I'm always so impressed that people give us their time. The one thing that they cannot get back is the time they give us. When someone comes and listens to you and learns, they give you an extraordinary thing. Hours of their life that they will never recover. And I feel the same way. If someone sits down and watches one of my television programs, what an extraordinary gift. Our time is the most valuable thing we have. Don't waste it.
And so much of our time actually goes in trying to fix things, when it should be invested in us, in that peace, in that joy. Because every moment should feel like it has, whatever it had to offer, all of it has been extracted out of it. That is an art. And if we get good at that art, then that is the day we know we can live. Then that is the moment we begin to feel alive. This is the art. There is art of self-defense, there is art of painting, there is art of cooking. There's so many arts. And there's the ultimate art of going within. Practice. Practice this art. Get to know this art. Receive this art. Because this is one art that anybody can do. You know, this is one art that anybody can do.
Some people argue that the search for peace requires the undoing of resentment and conflicting desire within you. Talk about that.
The only thing that the inner peace requires is that you get in touch with that inner place. That's what it requires. I mean, let's take an analogy. If I'm going to gas up my car, I'd realize I'm driving along and I see that it's running on empty and I need gas. What should I be doing?
Driving to the gas station, I would hope.
Well, how about kicking the tires?
Not going to be that helpful to you in the long run.
How about rolling down the windows?
Pleasant, but not going to help.
There it is. You need gas. You need to get in touch with that inner place. That's what's going to make the difference. People might say, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to fix this, you have to fix that, do this, do that. No. Go within, feel it. Resentment may come, may go. You have to remember, even when you were feeling that resentment, the peace was within you. So, get in touch with that place.
Paying attention to what's important. You know, there was a wonderful psychologist, experimental psychologist named Skinner, and he did an experiment where he had a box and there was a chicken in it and a bar. And when the chicken hit the bar, food would come down. But the chicken didn't realize that. It would dance around and do lots of different things and then accidentally hit the bar and the food would come down. And it took the longest time for the chicken to understand that all the dancing and the jumping and the nodding was irrelevant. Concentrate on the bar. And in a way, you're saying that. Pay attention to what really delivers.
Exactly.
Forget about the other stuff.
Exactly. Because that's what's going to matter at the end of the day.
What does a life look like when the person has inner peace?
It is in perspective. There's my responsibility, there's my mortgage, there's my bank loan, there's my problems, and there's me. They don't disappear. Inner peace doesn't take away mortgages. You can't go to a mortgage place and say, now I have inner peace, so I'm not going to pay you. No. Everything stays that way where it was. Thing that has changed. One thing that has changed. You have found peace. That's what's changed.
Is it selfish to seek inner peace? Is it self-indulgent?
Let me give you an analogy. You're in the desert, 5, 6 people, they're talking. And there happens to be this guy, and he really is thirsty. He's dying of thirst. And from a distance he sees this group of people standing there, so he crawls over there, and when he comes over he says, "Water, water." Now, is he selfish?
No.
Is he being rude? The call for peace, the call for joy, the call for that feeling is a necessity, just like hunger, just like thirst. And when somebody responds to that, It is not selfish, because it's a need, a fundamental need that we have to be content, to be fulfilled. If we turn the volume down on the outside, because the volume is turned up so high, we can't hear what we're trying to say to ourselves. Something inside has been crying out again and again and again and again. You know, I see so many people, and yes, they go to a party and they're standing up and they're dancing and they're doing this and they're doing that, and then I see them sit down and have a quiet moment, and it's like, what is it like coming home?
Wonderful for me.
Wonderful for me and wonderful for so many people to come home, where we don't have to put a pretense on, where there's nothing distracting. We can be who we are. Be who we are. That home also is like that on the inside, where we can be in peace, where that's the reality, where that's what is shining, that peace, that joy. And how can you say, or anyone say, that it's a luxury when it's such a necessity?
Let's hear what's going on inside.
Turn that big volume knob down a little bit. Hear what's being said. There are wonderful things happening here. Some voice inside, some feeling inside saying, be content, be fulfilled.
Was it Beethoven who was deaf at the major portion of his life and created all of that extraordinary music, listening to his inside?
Inspiration. Inspiration. To be inspired. To feel. These are not the things with the volume turned up all the way. You got to turn the volume down a little bit. And then you feel. You begin to find that the moment is wonderful.
Were there times in your own inner journey where you lost the center and had to come back?
Of course. But remember, life is a journey. It's going to go up, it's going to come down. It's going to be a little rough, it's going to be a little smooth. If you are in touch with that peace inside, even in that storm, you can say, I'll make it. It's okay. And in the quiet moments, you will say, it's okay. And both you will learn from. You will grow. You will expand. You will move forward. Because now you are a part of your journey. You are one. You're not sitting in a sailboat that is tied to the dock and going, yeah, I'm making good progress. I'm moving. And you don't have to pretend. No more pretension. And when we can stop pretending, then it is like being at home.
Prem's boyhood home is in northern India. He recently traveled there after being away for nearly 20 years.
Magical place. Always was magical. I grew up there. I went to school there. And people have told me, oh, it's gotten very polluted and so on and so forth. But I got to go back. And I was happy to just look around and see those mountains again. And how magical it was. And happy to say it still is. It still is. And I remembered so many things. It was just one of those beautiful blue sky days, warm, cool breeze. That's what I had always remembered. And I was so thankful that what that feeling was to be back, I had always carried it within me because it was within me. The whole drama, the whole beauty of being alive was within me, regardless of where I went in this world.
It must be nice to be in a physical environment which feels like the center of the wheel.
When it is within you. Wherever you go, like a snail, you carry your house with you.
I've spent a lot of years sailing, ocean sailing, crossing the Atlantic, sailing in waters I didn't know dangerous places. And when the storm comes, that sense that you have a center, that you know a safe place in you. Call it soul, you call it whatever it is, but the bigger the storm on the outside, the more important my center was, my inner peace. Not only for the things I had to do during that storm, but for the signal I sent to everybody else on the craft. You're going to be okay. I'm okay. We'll all be okay.
Exactly.
How do you help someone find inner peace? How do you do that?
All I have to do is hold a mirror. That's what I have to do. What I have to do is not tell them, but remind them. This is how I see it. I remind people there's a voice, and they go, yeah, I think I've heard it before. When the volume was down, I heard it. So could you please turn the volume down a little bit? I think I can do that. Let me hear it more.
Quite a few million people are going to watch us talking. And they're going to get a sense of how we're both committed to the inner peace and the center of the wheel. And they're going to say, all right, I want what those two guys get. What do we tell them?
3 points you have to clarify, whether you do it by asking yourself or just think about it. There's more to me than what I've thought about.
There's more to me than what I have thought was there.
Yes.
Okay. Second question.
I am more important than the sum of all my success and failure.
I am more important than the sum of all of my success and failure. Second point. So I've answered yes to those two.
Third, if you have honestly answered those yes to those two, and thus honesty, I'm not going to be the judge of it.
You can't. Only I
can't.
can, right?
Only you can. Then the last question, most importantly, am I ready to be fulfilled?
Am I ready to be fulfilled? Am I ready to make the commitment for what I must do to achieve that?
To achieve that. If you don't accept the possibility that peace is inside of you, how can you ask the question, do I want to be fulfilled? If you don't accept the fact that you are more important than all the things that happen around you, what can fulfillment mean to you? But only after you have answered yes to those two, then ask the third question, do I want to be fulfilled? And if that one comes up, yes, I can help.
And then I'm going to go look for you.
Then look for me.
Which is not hard for me because I have your cell number.
The process is just to start, and then the attraction to find the peace falls in place. And whether people call it search, a lot of people call it search. I don't call it search. I just call it being attracted. Attracted. You know, it's like you sit down somewhere and you open your lunchbox outside, and at first there's no wasps, no flies, nothing, and then they smell, and here they come, because they're attracted to that smell.
The sweetness.
The sweetness. Let it come. Be attracted. I just hold a mirror.
So what did I take away from these interviews? The first point was that each person is unique, and we should try to appreciate our uniqueness and not spend our lives trying to be like anyone else. That logic is important, but so is what we feel. Too often we try to reason our way through life when we might be better off responding to our feelings. Inner peace and happiness are feelings. And perhaps most important for me, the answer to almost all of our questions are inside us. Pay attention to what you feel. There's an old saying, we enter the world empty-handed, and that's the way we leave it. But Prem has a slightly different take on that. He says we may enter the world empty-handed, but we have the opportunity to leave it with a sense of self-knowledge and inner peace. So it looks like my journey might just be beginning. I certainly hope so. Thanks for watching.
Lo invitamos a visitar los siguientes sitios en internet, donde podrá obtener información y materiales acerca de Maraji y su mensaje. Si disfrutó de este programa, lo esperamos la próxima semana en este mismo horario en otra emisión de Una Posibilidad.